Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Monday. Hope all of you enjoyed a little bit of the nice weather on Saturday, but in small groups, right? I'm excited to be with you here today and excited for this week as we later in the week are going to celebrate the life of my mother-in-law, and I'll be in Ohio, and I enjoy that state a great deal and the people from that state, so I'm looking forward to that. What I wanted to talk to you about today is that I think when we talked on Friday, it had been right after Governor Holcomb from Indiana had opened up or given his plan for the back on track is what he calls it, back on track in Indiana. And so many businesses are starting to go through the process of they know an open date now. I think even the ones that aren't able to open immediately, their phase 2 started today, or their stage 2 started today, the 4th. And I think that Marion County and Lake County, Indiana starts stage 2 on Monday of next week. And then Cass County starts phase 2 on Monday the following week. So most of Indiana, stage 2 started today. Marion County, Lake County, stage 2 starts next Monday, the 11th. And for Cass County, it starts on May the 18th. Salons and barbershops are actually able to reopen 1 week after their county enters stage 2. So again, just slide that example that I just gave you down by 1 week. Majority of the state is going to open on, salons will open on the 11th. Marion and Lake will open on the 18th. And Cass County will open on actually the 26th, because the 25th is Memorial Day. So I really kind of feel that the final plans for reopening, the practice sessions, getting ready to greet and meet the public again, and to be able to ensure and assure their safety in your business, as well as the staff that you have needs to clearly be safe as well. So some things that we haven't talked about that are kind of new or fresh in my mind as of today. We mentioned a couple of, I want to say maybe a week ago, if you were one who got the PPP loan, to put together a spreadsheet that showed what they were making with you and what they were able to make on unemployment, to be able to see exactly what they're doing. I am also going to suggest that you bring back people. If you got the PPP loan, if you haven't done anything with it yet, don't pay people with that loan to stay home and do nothing. So either you have an agenda where you can give them a list of classes to take, things to do, preparation to get ready, or you're going through the steps, the new footprints of success in your business. If you're paying them, then they should be available to the business, and otherwise reserve those funds for keeping the business keeping the business afloat, not even profitable, but afloat, and allow unemployment to do what it was designed for. I think that as the PPP loans settle in, people are thinking of them more as grants, and we're more concerned about the forgiveness of that loan. And what I want you to think about on that is that if you're just working for that forgiveness of the loan, then all you're doing is replacing unemployment on behalf of the governor, on behalf of our federal government. You're pulling people off of unemployment. You're paying them with funds that can be forgiven, that came from the government, that are going out to your people. It's the same thing, government funds in the hands of your team. So if the government already has that mechanism in place, so you might say, well, what happens to me if I don't use up all of the funds for paying my people? If we've got to think, first of all, it's loan, the PPP, Payroll Protection Program loan, and what isn't forgiven will be converted into a loan at 1% interest. 1% interest, if that whole loan went unforgiven, 1% interest is not a lot of money. And does your business need that? You know, there's a lot of things where bigger companies took it and they didn't really need it. And so they're gonna have the government looking at them if they were already very, very well funded and they didn't have an interruption. Some businesses only maybe had a 20% hit or a 10% hit in their overall volume during this coronavirus. Well, salons had a 100% hit. Many of us distributors had a 90 to 100% hit. So do we need the funds? That's what you signed and said. Due to COVID-19, I have a need for these funds. If you need those funds because of COVID-19, even if it's not forgiven, if it helped you keep afloat, that's really important. That's really the positive of what was put out there. So to the degree that you have people that you can bring back and employ during the 8-week period of time. Now, you're going to continue to hear different things. I think that I made mention over Thursday night into Friday, the IRS got involved and said that the funds that are forgiven wouldn't be, they would be taxable. They would be taxable. Well, now Congress is saying that in the next bill that comes out, the next program that comes out, that they're going to squash that if they can, because it takes the value of that loan and what they wanted to do with it, and it takes it away from the small business person. So, gives me an opportunity to highlight once again. The method for forgiveness, there is one that's in place right now. And if you have to look at it, you're looking at it as it exists right now. But it's all subject to change and more than likely will change. There have been many changes weekly, daily in this. So if you're making decisions based on what you think is right now, it could be true right now, but it's not going to be true long term. So just be really careful. Some of the accountants, and I'm sure that maybe some of you are watching this by now, that there is no really wrong answer to this. If your choice is to be very, very conservative and just go by what's there right now and advise your clients, that's fine. But again, that may change. So I think there's the key, the most important thing is, how do we keep the small business, and in this case, your small business, how do we keep that afloat? How do we keep you in business so that you can establish your new normal over time? I hope that helps. The other thing that we did doesn't necessarily mean that that's the end-all be-all, but we opened up a separate bank account to deposit the PPP funds in. And we will only draw down from that bank account when we have our assigned documentation necessary, almost like a construction loan. If you think how you got your construction loan approved, and then as the contractors turned in their bills and their tickets for work done, and then the construction loan dispersed the money to those contractors, that's kind of how we're going to treat the PPP loan. It's in a separate account, and as we process a payroll period, and the money is transferred out of our operating account into our payroll account, there'll be another transfer that will be from our PPP account into our operating account. That way it never commingles with our operating account. And I think that that is going to help a lot when it comes time to kind of prove up, so to speak, or to go back to the bank at the end of this and find out what the formula for forgiveness is. The other thing that I think you want to do is you want to get the determination of the term FTE, full-time equivalents, because I know many of you have part-time people that are working in your business. And so what you want to find out is how are those, do two part-timers become one full-time? What's the provision for part-time employees? Also, what's the provision for people who may be on a leave of absence for whatever reason? So those are all potential things. The other thing is let's say you've got somebody who doesn't come back. They moved to a different state while you were closed. They decided to move home with mom and dad. And so, for example, let's say that you had 25 employees that figured into your calculation for your PPP loan. And the thought process is you've got to bring back, in the time of this loan, you've got to bring back all 25. It's not those 25 specific people. It's 25 people. So if 5 of them moved away, you could hire 5 new people to replace them, or just have less forgiveness. Again, remember, start with, as we say, the first thing you do is you start with the customer and work backwards to the business. What things have to be in place in order to properly serve the guest in this new reality? Then, how does that affect my staffing? If I have to, for example, if I have to shift my people, half the people work this shift and half the people work this shift, or I drop them into 3 different shifts, you are going to have a different usage of people than you would have if you could just open the door, let everybody back in, and start taking guests. So you're going to want to know what the requirements are. What are the service hours that you're going to be open and available for business based on the space that's in your business, the distance that needs to be maintained, 6 feet between guests, and then put together your staffing chart so that you can realize this is how many people I'll have in this segment. And again, I'm going to recommend that you bring back your largest dollar producing people the soonest, but almost pick those like a softball team. So best A, second best is on B team, third best is on A team, etc. So you go back and forth. So you're splitting. If you're going to have to do shifts, you want to be able to split up your highest dollar producers, because they're going to bring more people into the business, help you recover faster, but also it's going to make the person flow go more smoothly through the business. So some ideas. I think I mentioned to you, but I want to be sure that I recover again. Van Council, incredible businessman, wonderful, proud to call him a friend. Looking at the way he reopened, he did a lot of things right. And really, with the risk that was involved with Georgia opening when they did, my hat's off to him. He did a fabulous job. The personal PPE things that they did a face shield and a mask. Okay? Those face shields will be available through PSC. They should be in everything we're shooting for should be in by mid-May. I know that might not help you in week 1 if you're in Indiana. It'll be here in time for when I believe Marion County and Lake County open up. And so also our hand sanitizer is being shipped this Friday, so it should be here shortly after that. May 15th looks like it's right around when our disposable masks will be here, some of the backup for our gloves that we're going to have available, and some of the other PPE things that we're working on. We're working on a couple of different things for the tool sanitizer. Barbicide is absolutely crushed with business right now and probably unable to take on a lot of new. We found a terrific company that also seems crushed, but I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get in with them as well. We're continuing to just search out what's going to be the best product and the best availability for all of you who need that from us. Some of you won't need that from us. Some of you have sourced your own, and that's fine. And we encourage that. But I also know that some have purchased from the biggest online retailer and been surprised and a little disappointed when product actually arrived after quite a long wait. So we want to help. We don't want it to be a profit center, but we want to help. So we'll do the best we can to do that. With that in mind, I think there are some things that could be being done. I would suggest, and again, a lot of the ideas that we're sharing are ideas that we hear, and they're good ideas. They're not necessarily my idea or Terry's idea. They are good ideas that deserve to be passed on. And one of them is this. I would suggest that when you schedule a color appointment in this new environment, that you ask them to snap a quick selfie photo of their hair right now and text it into you so that you can see it. We'd like to believe that every single guest waited for you. In reality, they didn't. Many did, no doubt in my mind. But for those that didn't, who may not want you to know, it's important for you to see their hair before they walk through the door, and you're booking very tight because you're managing the people flow through the business, and you find out you've got a much bigger job than what you had anticipated, or maybe a much bigger job than what you can address today in the business. So we want to find that out. What we can ask them the question. They won't always tell us the truth, but if we ask the question, what have you used on your hair in between this time where we've been closed? Did you use any over-the-counter hair color, or what kind of products have you been using, and etc. So you can find that out and snap a picture. You're going to be better off. If you want to take that time then and do a video consultation with the guest, once you see what you see, that would be suggested too. We want to realize that the number of people in your business is going to matter in this new environment. And so we cannot, I don't think anyway, we cannot make a habit of running late or putting a 1 hour appointment down for somebody who clearly needs an hour and a half or two. And many times corrective color needs more time than that. So let's just be real careful. Let's be smart wherever's possible. And I think that by using the technology that exists today, we can do that. Maybe someone has tried to lighten their own hair, and maybe the hair is in not the greatest condition. By seeing it and by having a video consultation before they come in, maybe they need to stop by for curbside and get a conditioning treatment that they can use at home a couple days before color. So think about, that's what I love about this. It's a fascinating puzzle that we have in business right now. Because again, we're going to start with the fact that we have to have a safety pledge. What safety are you going to promise your employees and promise your salon guests? And then, what is our sanitation pledge? I have to tell you that I was real concerned. I listened to the state of Indiana's governor today in his question and answer period. And someone from, it might have even been the Indianapolis Star, although I can't guarantee that, it was one of the publications, said he had a question from a hairdresser. And the hairdresser said, I don't know much and haven't really been trained on healthcare. And so I'm worried about accepting guests in who may have had COVID-19 or may not tell me that or may not know that they have. And it wasn't that question that threw me off. It's that I haven't been trained, because there is an awful lot. I mean, I know here in Illinois, about 60% of the questions on your state board test have to do with sanitation and health issues, and bacteria and fungus and etc. So I know it comes as part of the licenses in almost every state. You have to be trained in that. So if you got people that don't remember it, it's a great time. Pull out the theory book, dust it off, open it up, and make yourself more current. But I think if we as an industry go back to our government and say, hey, we don't know what we're doing, or we haven't been trained in this, it's going to scare the daylights out of them. And it's going to push the other states back further and further and further. Fact is, we do know a great deal about it. Fact is, a number of people have trained on the barberside.com certifications and renewed a lot of their knowledge on that. There is no limit to what you can do to prepare right now. I would much rather have you over prepare than to get your opening date and think, oh my God, now what do I do? Because that's a problem going forward. I also think this is a time for you to be looking for your plexiglass shields that may need to be available. It certainly is going to be a recommendation that I make, that you have a plastic shield. Some call it a sneeze guard, but it's available. You see it in most businesses you go into right now. I think that needs to be there. It doesn't need to be a permanent fixture per se, but I do think it needs to be at your reservation desk. I would also suggest that you decide how many times a day are all your flat surfaces going to be sanitized, cleaned and sanitized. How many times a day? Is it every 15 minutes? Is it every half hour? Is it every hour? What is it? It's going to depend on your traffic and the amount of traffic that you have coming through there, the number of guests. But make all those decisions in advance and have them be available for not only your staff to understand, but for the guests to understand. And you're going to want to have that, I think, at the welcome table that's just inside the door, where we check people's temperatures, where we have them read what the salon's going to be doing to ensure their safety, where we issue them their mask, their disposable mask. And also, I think they should read, this is what we're doing to keep you safe here. So the other thing I think that is, and this is another suggestion that I saw, and I think it's a worthwhile suggestion. It was suggested that maybe a salon owner does a rehire, a welcome back interview with every staff member that's going to be touching the public. Because first of all, once you start letting guests in, you're not going to have that much time. I mean, it's recommended that one service provider doesn't touch another service provider. So it's not that, hey buddy, how you been? What happened while you were off? There's not that. You're not touching another person. So what that says is that face-to-face communication might be challenged. Your team may not know all of the things that you've done, all the things you've considered, all the classes that you've taken in order to be ready to reopen your business. And so you need to have that conversation with them. That's part of the rehire interview, so that we know and we prepare them for the dialogue that we're going to ask them to be able to have with the guests when they come in. If we wing it, if we don't have some suggested dialogue for each guest interaction, I think we're taking a risk. I think you're taking a risk with your salon's reputation. And as fast as news moves today because of social media, By the time you have visibility to it, it could already have harmed your reputation. So take that time while you have it right now. Do those rehire interviews. Make sure that we talk about, here's what we're doing. Here's how we're going to talk about what we're doing. Here's how we'd like you to talk about this. And can I ask you to put some time into practicing this and making it your own between now and when we reopen? All that's fair. All that's fair as an owner. And it's all it is it's setting your team up for success. What we don't want to have happen is we don't want to start and have to stop. Right? And the chances are that if we are not taking the proper precautions, that we would do just that. We would start, we'd come back, all the energy, all of everything that comes to come back together, and for whatever reason, we'd be put back on a stay-at-home order, or we'd be peeled back from being able to keep our salons open. And we don't want that to happen. So let's make sure we're doing that. If this is a time where your tools need to be increased, because I do think every single stylist will need more tools than they have in the past, because you're going to have some that are going to be being sanitized and you'll have some that are clean. This is the time to do that. Be sure you get those tools. Be sure you have enough quantity of everything that you're going to need to be able to rotate out your tool setups. Revisit your state sanitation setup for your station and see what's necessary and what's required there. So some of this is just a review, but I hope there's enough new that it sparked some thought of, geez, I need to look at that. I need to look at that. I know that some of you have been going around and around about disposable capes versus having enough capes that you can wash and in many cases sanitize, and in many cases have them in, they have to be in a closed container marked clean. I think that's really important as well. If you're going to have capes or you're going to try and do gowns, keeping those sanitized and fresh and clean are really, really important. Towels is another thing. What are you going to do with towels? And there are products that you can put in with the laundry that will help to sanitize, and there are settings on a lot of the machines that will help to sanitize those towels. So there's so much. I never would have believed it. I saw one thing today that said a suggestion from a state that said a guest needed to come in one door and leave through another door. They can't come and go from the same door. And I didn't think about that too much, except to know that there are some salons where that's just not possible. So what do? Does that mean they don't get to open? Or they just do the best they can, or they hope nobody ever says anything or comes in? I don't know. I don't think that's going to be what Illinois does, but I've seen it. I saw it as a part of what was given in one state document. So know that we're still looking at that. We're looking at all of that. Colorado's open, and Indiana now is beginning to open. Georgia was the first to open. California has made some statements on what they're doing. State of Washington, I believe Missouri has made some. I mean, the process of collecting all of those documents from their state environment, I've read many of them, and we'll be bringing you little tidbits that come from them and things for you to think about that maybe we haven't addressed yet. So I'm going to bring in my young man who is soon to be a YouTube sensation. Come on in, Jack. Some of you have said that you missed him, so I wanted to bring him back. Jack, what do you have to say to everybody?
Hi everyone, I'm back, and I know you're watching, Mom. I know you're watching, and you see me right now.
And what's Mom doing?
I know Mom's gonna be. I know you're smiling. I know you are, Mom.
And that's good for Mom, because she's been kind of sad lately. right?
I know she's watching this and she knows I'm here. And everyone watching this, please stay safe from this virus.
Yes.
Okay, bye everyone.
Thanks, Jack.
We'll see you Friday.
Daddy will be done in a minute, okay?
Love you everyone. Mwah.
So I want to bring this to a close here relatively soon. I just want to say again, I think a lot's going to happen this week, and I would I just do your very, very best to think through every step of the service, every step, every area of the salon. I know that many salons are going in and they're taking out unnecessary decor that's not needed. Some salons in some states have required retail come down or retail not be touched, that people need to ask for help and assistance with retail. Only staff touches the take-home products. I know that they have recommended in most every state, they've recommended if you have testers of anything that are out, remove the testers. Don't leave tester products. If you're working with a product kind of bar or service area where your staff goes to get the product they need to work on the guest, that can only work if someone is cleaning and sanitizing the usage of those in between when one of your staff grabs them. So it's a big responsibility. There's a lot going on, but you can do it. And I want you to know how much we appreciate all of you and admire the entrepreneurial spirit and the sense of we're going to do this, we're going to get past it, we're going to be better than we've ever been, we're going to learn from this, and we're going to all do it together. We're in this together, and that's kind of been our message from PSC from the beginning. I also want to let you know, for those of you that are PSC customers, we did start to bring back some of our staff, and our phone is coming down off of the answering service except at lunchtime, and it'll actually be the people that you've known for years answering the telephone, entering your orders, and shipping out the orders on a daily basis. So we are open and available, and for pickups, we're just doing curbside. So you can't come into the space and shop. That's not available at this point. Only curbside pickup, or we can ship out. But we're happy to do either one of those. Thank you for spending this time with us today. Know that we love and appreciate you, and we can't wait until we get a chance to start seeing the Facebook and the Instagram and all of those pictures with you back in the salons and working. Thank you.